Second.
All right, yeah. Just whenever you
All right.
let me know when you tweet it out.
All right, we are tweeting it out right now. And hello, everybody. We are on week 11, believe it or not. And I'm joined here by Rob. To the Gridiron AI, we're called the Stone Cold Lead Pipe Lock Show. We got week 11 plays for everybody. A little bit of a recap of the week, talking about our process, what we're changing, what we're tweaking, jumping into some game-by-game stuff. But before I get too far into it, Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Not doing as well as you this week, though. Taking down that showdown contest on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, so I entered in the one of the 50 cent, like 150 max. I just found out you can only, they're like the beginner contests. But I've been kind of tweaking the process a little bit. And yeah, we won first out of 148,000 or 118,000. I forget. It was a big field. I did split with 25 other people. So the $5,000 first prize ended up just being about 500. But the process was there. It was close to the absolute optimal that you could get. So yeah, moving forward, we're using the same process that we use for Showdown. We're using the same exact one for the main slate. So hopefully we can replicate that this coming Sunday. Rob, do you want to talk a little bit about some changes we made for the player pool this week in terms of how we're looking at floor and ceiling?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, when we're creating our optimizer and generating our lineups and looking for a range of outcomes, every time we create a new lineup, we're tweaking everyone's base projections. And we're putting the bounds of the tweaking basically on what we think is going to be the player's floor or their ceiling. In some cases, though, the ceilings can be too high. If you're just basing it on previous performance and not putting a lot of stock in what's going to happen this game. So something a little different we did this week is we adjusted the ceiling to be an average of the base projection and the ceiling projection, so that we're kind of weighting the ceiling more towards what we're expecting to happen this week. And we did the same thing for the floor. So I think that's going to give us a more reasonable pool of players when we're considering the different outcomes that could happen this week. So I think you're going to like what Nick has to show in terms of the player pool this week.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about the player pool as it stands right now. I do a little disclaimer from now to Sunday, the player pool can change a lot. So now that it's automated, I feel a little bit more comfortable posting the player pool Sunday morning when most of you are probably thinking about your lineups anyway. So I'm going to post that early on Sunday instead of Saturday night, and it will reflect the most recent projections. So we're kind of doing two rounds, one for the show and then one for the actual player pool that you'll see on Instagram on Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. But I don't know. It's a tough week. I don't know about injury news, what we're looking out for. I think DeAndre Hopkins is someone to keep an eye on. I don't think he is on the main slate, though. Other than that, no real big injury news comes to mind. So let's just hop right into the game-by-game stuff, starting with your beloved Patriots going up against the absolute juggernaut of a defense, the New York Football Jets. Who do you got in this showdown of AFC South? No, AFC East. AFC
Yeah,
East.
AFC Beast. If the season ended today, all four AFC East teams would be in the playoffs. So
wow,
it's been competitive year. So yeah, this is a huge game. This is the second meeting between these two teams. The Patriots took round one, and the Patriots win this game, they'll be passing the Jets. The Jets are going to be coming into New England, really gunning for us. We're starting with the lowest total on the slate for this talk here, and right now the over/under is right around 38 points. So expected to be a low-scoring game. Two pretty good defenses. The Patriots have been great against immobile quarterbacks this year. They didn't have a ton of success against Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields, but Zach Wilson is not someone I would categorize as a mobile quarterback. So I do kind of like that over/under at 38 points. So I'm not crazy about this game in terms of DFS or from a fantasy standpoint. Right now, Ramondre Stevenson, he looks to be the highest owned player in this game. I think he's kind of being projected right around. I got him right around 26% right now at 6,700. And that's really you're paying for volume because he's going to be the guy. He's going to be getting the touches. He's getting a lot of work in the passing game. Um, Personally, I'm going to fade him this week, and I think it's a good leverage spot on the field. If 26% of the field is drafting him, and he's not getting there, that gives you leverage somewhere else. So I like that call this week. I just don't really see him having a ceiling game. He is projecting well. I know, Nick, you said he had him around 17 points. I got him around 16 and a half. I think that might as well be his ceiling. I don't see him getting much higher than that in this game. If he does, I think he's going to need to fall into the end zone twice. And kind of with the over under and the implied team totals, I'm not crazy about Ramondre Stevenson in this matchup. Elsewhere, though, I think you'd go with either defense and probably have some luck with these two quarterbacks who have made some mistakes this year and turned the ball over. But since I'm biased and since I'm a homer, I'm probably going to have a lot of the Patriots defense this week.
Yeah, so that's certainly one way to take a look at it, especially like them being home against Zach Wilson and the Jets. I do think that Bill Belichick's going to dial up pressure because it's. I saw a tweet today. Zach Wilson is actually a top 5 quarterback in EPA when he has a clean pocket. He's like the worst quarterback we've seen in the past decade when he is rushed, which in the NFL you're going to get rushed more often than not. So not great for Zach Wilson. That's why he's not really. It's not really translating to the NFL so far. But I'm kind of with you. I do really like Ramondre Stevenson. Projection models like ours and our optimizer models like ours are really going to gravitate towards him just from a pure price and salary standpoint. Also, he is involved in the pass game, and that's where you attack this Jets team. Running backs have been doing pretty well against them in terms of ADOT allowed and some other metrics related to that. Also, I am getting a lot of Garrett Wilson, who, I mean, that's kind of just a bet on talent situation, and usage. Again, the usage at 4,900 that you're getting out of Garrett Wilson is up there with receivers that you'll see in like the 5-6K range. He's getting a lot of high value touches or high value targets in the red zone. His ADOT's pretty far down the field. And he's demanding a pretty high target share on that team. And the reason why he shows up a lot is purely based on like that type of usage at his price. The matchup is not good. The Patriots are especially in division against the Jets. Those games tend to be low scoring. They rank 5th against opposing wide receivers. Like you said, the over-unders under 40, and he's going to be popular. So I'm probably going to maybe force a little bit of a fade there with Garrett Wilson and Ramondre Stevenson, just because the total kind of scares me away a little bit as well. One play that I do like is, and purely from a fan standpoint, have you seen the New England Patriots against tight ends? Because Tyler Conklin looks like he has a pretty good matchup against New England this week.
Yeah, and I mean, he kind of he ran it up against him the last time they played. I think he actually might have ended up even in the Millionaire Maker lineup. I think he had over 20
Mm-hmm.
points there. So yeah, he's someone who caught my eye too. Again, being a homer and I'm biased, I probably won't be playing any of the Jets. Probably playing the Pats defense, but I think if you were going to go on the Jets side, I think Tyler Conklin's a good cheap option. And like you mentioned, Garrett Wilson too. Not crazy about him in tournaments, but I think he's probably going to have a pretty safe floor this week. He's one of the receivers this year whose expected fantasy points has been right around where it should be, and his points over expected is right around 0. So he probably offers a safe floor given the volume he's going to get. But I'd say outside of those two, I don't see a whole lot of options on either side of the ball in the offenses here, other than some punts for large field GPPs.
Yeah, definitely. Tyler Conklin, 3,400, and New England Patriots rank 26 against tight ends. So again, tight end position is ugly, but the way that they're priced, it might be a 2 tight end week. I'm probably going to end up with plenty of Tyler Conklin this week, just because he makes a lot of other things work for your lineup. All right, let's move on to the next game. Where do you want to go next, Rob?
All right, so let's go to the next. We'll go up on the Vegas total here. So another low scoring game. We got the LA Rams and the New Orleans Saints. Vegas totals right around 39.5 right now. With let's see, who is looks like the Saints are actually favored by 2.5 points. So yeah, I'm not crazy about this game either. And I'm not sure if you've heard, is Matt Stafford, has he been cleared to play? Because I don't think I was able to pull him in this week, which means he's probably still on some kind of injury report.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we might get John Wolford again.
Okay.
I'm not sure that
Yeah,
they're in a rush to bring Matthew Stafford back to this team environment, honestly.
okay. So yeah, kind of the big thing to talk about with this game is going to be the absence of Cooper Cup, who went on IR. He's going to be gone for a few weeks. That's a 30% target share that's exiting this offense. So those targets got to go somewhere.
Hmm.
Someone I kind of like this week is Ben Skoranek. He's had a very high snap count percent the last couple of weeks. And when the Rams are missing receivers. And I think even prior to the departure of Cooper Cup, he had a target share around 12%. So, let's say he takes 10 out of that 30% from Cooper Cup and he can make a jump to 20%. He's good in short yardage situations. So, if, John Wolford isn't trying to air out the ball, I could see Ben Skoranek getting a lot of targets here. And he's only 3,900. So he's kind of the only option I would look at in the Rams offense. Not really, again, crazy about this game on either side. Certainly not on the Saints side either. Alvin Kamara really let me down last week. He's kind of left kind of a sour taste in my mouth. He's actually projecting pretty well this week, though. Are you going to have any Alvin Kamara this week, Nick?
A little bit. Unfortunately, um, he did burn me last week as well. Kind of with you. I'm not getting a ton of anybody in this game, to be honest with you. No one's really projecting all that well. Alvin Kamara is like just going to be on the outside looking in terms of like the top 6 recommended running backs. However, I mean his usage is still insane when it comes to running back usage, and the matchup in terms of like pass catching running backs against the Rams, it's not terrible. Um, but the Rams are a decent enough defense. If that's one thing that's going well this season for them, they're about league average in that department. Number 9 against running backs. So yeah, low total. Yeah, I would say that they are, like you said, 2.5 point favorites with John Wolford. You probably see if that line increases, you might see Alvin Kamara's projections come up a little bit over the weekend, and then he'll probably be a priority play for me. Other than that, the only other target that I want is not Ben Skoranek. It appears that the aggregate projections that I run are kind of giving a lot of that volume to Tyler Higbee. So Tyler Higbee is actually a pretty popular play for me this week, and I was wondering, did he come up at all for you? Are you seeing any Tyler Higbee? The Saints are number 4 against tight ends, so it's not a great matchup. But at his price with the usage, it's going to be hard to kind of not project him well compared to other tight ends.
Yeah, that's an interesting because he started off so hot this year. He had such a high target share, and then things that kind of dropped off in the last few weeks. So he's kind of another guy who's been leaving kind of a sour taste in my mouth. But it does make sense that if Cooper Cup's gone, that he should be getting an increase in the target share. They don't really have a lot of other talented wide receivers on this offense. Allen Robinson's kind of old and washed up. Skoronek's kind of limited in what he can do. Van Jefferson's coming off, a big injury. He's still kind of settling back in. And even before he was injured, he wasn't the greatest. So Higbee should be the number 1 receiver in this offense at either tight end or wide receiver. So he does make a lot of sense, but I think given his ownership, actually, I only got him right around 5% right now. I'm not, so that is actually pretty
I
low.
have him at 20%. That's probably going to be on the lower end.
Okay, so there must be a bug there somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's probably someone I would avoid as well, but that does kind of make sense. But also someone who
I
I don't hate on the other side is Jawan Johnson. He's been finding the end zone a lot lately, and he's only 3,100.
mhm.
Um, so he's kind of an interesting play too if you wanted to punt at tight end. He's had a couple good games this year,
Yeah.
and wouldn't take a lot for him to pay out.
Yeah, the Rams do rank number 2 overall. Again, it's just a tough week. Like everybody seems to be in a bad matchup that is low owned, and it's hard to get different in a smart way this week. We say that, and then it'll be like the wildest slate of the whole year. But that seems to be like kind of like you're not going to feel great about a lot of plays this week. So on weeks like this, I think for me, like I'm going to let other people kind of make the mistakes, right? I think that DraftKings has really tightened up pricing, and their algorithm is a lot better than the pricing algorithm is a lot better than maybe we are at projecting this type of stuff right now, and it's tough. It's tough. So Let's get up to some of these higher total games and see if we can find some better plays for the people out there. So what do we got next, Rob?
All right, let's move up to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. So let's see, for this game, we got about a 40 and a half total line. The Bengals are favored by 4 points against the Steelers. Rematch of their week one game that I believe the Bengals lost. So one of the Steelers' few wins this year. Joe Mixon's going to be very popular this week. He's coming off the game of his career. He's coming in right around 20% owned. He kind of struggled against the Steelers the first week of the season. He got a lot of touches, though. He got a lot of work in the passing game, and he actually salvaged a pretty good day. I do remember I played him during the first tournament that week. I think he was able to put up 20 without finding the end zone. So that could be a possibility again this week. I kind of like Joe Burrow this week at 3.5, 4% owned, just because he could go off in any given week. In any given week, he can go for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Of course, that line being so low kind of scares you, but I'd say like that could be a situation where we could get different this week if the Bengals just kind of have the Steelers number, especially since the Steelers just beat them earlier this season. If they can come out and get a win and get the offense going, I think you could get a lot of leverage there if you wanted to stack T. Higgins with anybody on this offense.
Yeah, I as a Steelers fan, I am very much on the Bengals side of things this week. I really like Joe Mixon. He's the third most popular running back for the optimizer. The Steelers rank 13th against opposing running backs, and I will note that they did get TJ Watt back. He's going to be full go. So that makes him a little bit more of a formidable matchup, but not in the passing game. And Joe Mixon gets plenty of usage in the passing game, so he could still have a big day, even if they're able to like bottle up the run a little bit. But Joe Mixon is getting about 2.78, almost 3 rushes in the red zone per game. And he has one of the higher rush value scores in our model. So I'm also with you there with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is maybe the one player where we can kind of sneak him by some people. He's great to double stack. I really like stacking him with T. Higgins and Hayden Hurst or Joe Burrow. But yeah, Joe Burrow looks like he's not going to be utilized by the field nearly as much. He's down at 6,800, which is kind of right in the middle, especially when we can play Justin Fields for just a little bit more, about $800 more. But Joe Burrow and the Steelers' pass defense is terrible, bottom 3 in the league. So I can see T. Higgins having a big day as the Steelers are among the worst in the league in terms of air yards given up. They give up a lot of deep targets where you're going to find T. Higgins running down the field. Also, don't forget about Tyler Boyd. I will say that the Steelers are a little bit better at defending those like short to intermediate routes, and they're a little more vulnerable on the down the sidelines deep balls. So really like T. Higgins this week and Joe Burrow as the two pieces that I can find is like what I feel are like really good plays that aren't being utilized by the field as much as you would think. So yeah, really like that game. Anybody on the Steelers that you like to bring it back? I know since Claypool's been gone, it seems like Freiermuth's gotten a little bit of bump in target share. What do you think?
Yeah, so I like Freiermuth this week. I think I'm kind of starting to come on to your boy George Pickens a little bit. He seems to be getting a lot of targets, especially in the red zone the last couple of weeks. So he could be kind of a sneaky play. He's under 4% owned. So that would be kind of a good leverage play there, or maybe like you said, Pat Freiermuth. He's 4,200. He's projecting pretty well, right around 11 points. So yeah, you could get different there. Again, I think I'm probably going to target some of the higher total games.
Yeah, I will note, and again, that the projection should account for this. The Bengals are really banged up in their secondary. Awuzie, one of their lockdown corners, torn ACL out for the year. So I could see this game kind of going over the total, which is right now 40.5, or it's at right around 40 points over under. And I think bookmakers and the general public kind of looking at AFC North showdown the second of the year, those can be low scoring. But I just think both secondaries are just so bad in this game that we could see this shootout a little bit. And the real thing here is like, can Kenny Pickett keep up on the road in Cincinnati. So that's enough about that game. Let's move on. Where are you taking us next, Rob?
All right, why don't we go to Houston and the Commanders? So actually, this game is projected to be a similar scoring environment as the last game we just talked about. Over under is right around 40 and a half. And the Commanders are 3-point favorites as of right now. You like anybody in this game, Nick?
So Houston is an absolute dumpster fire. A popular play this week is going to be Dameon Pierce, and I think he is one of the clearest and easiest and best fades of the year. Looks like the field is on him about 26% of the time in lineups. Reason being, he's projecting pretty well. I have him for right around 17 and a half points median. He's coming in at 6,500, but the Commanders rank right around 10th overall against opposing running backs. Like you said, low total. He is a home favorite, he's a home underdog. They're about 3-point underdogs against the Commanders. But listen, I think Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded head coach. I think that defense is pretty solid. They just gave the Eagles a little bit of trouble. And I just don't think the matchup is all that great. I think a lot of people just want to play Damian Harris because he's an exciting young rookie at around 6,500. So he's a play that a lot of people are going to be on, and I might even I'm going to fade him pretty hard this week. So anybody else that you like in this game? It's tough to find anybody outside of him to even talk about because the Houston offense is so bad, and it's hard to trust Taylor Heineke with Terry McLaurin, even though Terry McLaurin is a baller.
Yeah, and that's who I was going to bring up was Terry McLaurin. Houston actually hasn't been too bad against wide receivers this year. They rank fourth in the league in scoring against for wide receivers, but McLaurin has seemed to have had some better opportunities with Taylor Heineke. We saw him air it out a little bit more to him in this game this past Monday night. He's got a 38% share of the air yards on that team. And his expected fantasy points has come up a bit. He's right around 13 expected fantasy points, and his points over expected is 1.4. So he's making the most of the opportunities that he's getting. Again, just in the little over under, it's hard to get to. And actually, I have him pretty highly owned this week. I think at 20%. Does that sound right?
Who's that? Terry McLaurin?
Yeah, I feel like I
Yes,
might have
21%. I got him. I
okay.
got him at 21%.
Okay, cool. So I think actually that kind of even makes him less attractive since he's going to be so popular. But I think it's just his salary at 5,900. Like you said, the salary's been
Yeah.
so tight this week that he seems to be a very good value play. So he's probably the only person from a receiving standpoint I would consider on the Commanders. And then if you wanted to go on the running side of the ball, do you have any interest in Brian Robinson or Antonio Gibson? The Texans have
So
had an absolute run funnel defense this year, and we
yeah,
saw
yeah.
Washington running a lot against the Eagles this past Monday night. And it worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, so the reason why Terry doesn't really project as well as you might think with his target share and usage is that you just don't have to throw the ball on Houston. They only have allowed 4 receiving touchdowns on the year. They don't allow a ton of air yards. And that's, like I said, because the pass volume against this team is just not very high because, like you said, they are a run funnel. They rank dead last against opposing running backs. And even with that, it's just hard to pinpoint a specific player to like here. I like Antonio Gibson a little bit more than Brian Robinson because I think Brian Robinson is not great at football. Wasn't really in love with the prospect profile. Great story coming back from a gunshot wound and producing. And he's like the kind of three yards in a cloud of dust fall forward for the extra 4th yard that coaches love, especially like a defensive minded, established the run type coach in Ron Rivera. And either one could have a really big day here. So I do think that I will be boosting them a little bit in my projection model just to make sure that I'm getting a little bit more of them because they're not going to be utilized all that much. And I could see one or both having a big day just because Houston lets you run absolutely all over them. So yeah,
Yeah, I
don't hate
like
it,
either
but
one a lot.
yeah.
I'd probably go Antonio Gibson on this one. I think he seems to be getting the lion's share. inside the red zone. And yeah, Houston's allowed 13 rushing touchdowns to running backs on the ground, which is like you said, dead last in the league. So for a team that
Yeah.
likes to run it, I think you can really you can count on one of these guys to get a touchdown this week. And at 5,600,
Hmm.
that's great value there. So I'll probably have some Antonio Gibson or maybe some Brian Robinson if I want to get different.
Yeah, yeah. Both are good salary savers too, and like good pivots off of like chalk plays that we don't love. Like you can save $1,000 and get different in your lineup by pivoting off of Damian Pierce to Antonio Gibson. And then if you really want to get really weird, like throw in one of the receivers like Nico Collins or Brandon Cooks, which is not great because Davis Mills is maybe not an NFL quarterback, but those are the types of things that you could do on a week like this where it's tough. And if you get really weird one place like that, you can kind of eat the chalk a little bit at the other spots. So let's keep moving on. Again, each game gets a little less gross. So talk me through what do we got next on the docket?
All right, let's go up to Baltimore and Carolina. Over under in this game is right around 41.5 points. Baltimore is 12.5 point favorites this week over the Panthers. Um, I really don't like anyone on either side of the ball in this game. I don't like Lamar Jackson at all. I don't think he's going to have to do much for them to win this game. He's had such a low floor this year when Baltimore has been able to move the ball on the ground and score and stay ahead. They don't need Lamar Jackson to go out of his way to score 40 points. It's shaping up that he's having a season where for him to get there, he's going to need a team to push him. Like in that Miami game or that competitive game they had against the Patriots, where he went wild on both of them. We haven't seen it since. So someone I do like in this game because I do think the Ravens are going to be able to do whatever they want on the ground against this Panthers team. Um, is I like the run game for the Ravens. And Kenyon Drake's been seeing a lot of work. He's looked pretty solid. Um, so far this year in the games that he has played. And I think there's a really good chance that he falls into the end zone once, maybe twice. I think Gus Edwards is supposed to be back this week, so there will be some question there as to who's going to get the most work. But if they're looking to ease Gus Edwards back in, I think we could probably still count on Kenyon Drake getting a fair amount of carries in this game. And at his salary at only 5,900, he is another salary saver in the running back department you could go for this week.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not showing up with a ton of either Kenyon Drake or Gus Edwards, but Carolina does rank 19th against opposing running backs. Again, the total's coming up a little bit. Like the Ravens are going to put up points. It's just tough from a projection standpoint to know who's going to get the lion's share in that backfield. They do involve Kenyon Drake, and we should see plenty of Gus Edwards. I'm not sure if Justice Hill is still part of the picture, but yeah, neither are projecting all that well. But if one is the one that falls in the end zone twice, like you said, Lamar Jackson's not projecting super well this week either. I think the situation with Mark Andrews has put a lot of uncertainty here. We'll see kind of how this develops because if people aren't going to play them like at all, the Ravens that is in a game that they are gonna really they're projected to win by double digits. I think that there are some opportunities for fantasy points there, and it's just hard to pinpoint. They're just a weird offense to target for fantasy. I think that's what we're finding out this year. But keep an eye on Mark Andrews. He could be interesting as he has the high ceiling at the tight end position, along with Travis Kelce. And if he's healthy, he's going to get a lot of targets because there's not a whole lot to throw the ball to there for Lamar Jackson in terms of receivers, with Rashad Bateman being hurt. Yeah, I have Justice Hill is projecting for about 2 points there against Carolina. On the other side of the ball, I'm getting a little bit of DJ Moore, not a ton, but he just has such a freakish target share now that Robbie Anderson is out of the picture. They traded away Christian McCaffrey. The offense is DJ Moore, and Baker Mayfield throwing the ball this week, which not great. But yeah, that's certainly a direction that you could go. Just kind of ugly. I kind of want to just move on from this game if that's all right with you. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's time. All right, let's
Yeah.
move on to Broncos versus the Raiders. Over under in this game, again, right around 41.5. And the Broncos are 3 point favorites against the Raiders. Two disappointing teams this year, two teams that we thought were going to make a playoff run and keep that AFC West division competitive have really let us down. This is an interesting game. the Raiders have been a terrible defense all season long, and the Broncos have been a terrible offense all season long. But you have to ask yourself the question: is this a game where Russell Wilson or Cortland Sutton could break out? Cortland Sutton's pretty popular this week. I have him around 17% owned. Even Russell Wilson ownership has started to come up from what it was earlier this week. He's up to around 7%. So I think the field is kind of getting on his cheap salary and the opportunity he's going to get against this Raiders team. And then, of course, on the Raiders side of the ball, we saw Josh Jacobs dismantle this Broncos run defense earlier this year. So he's someone you have to have your eye on in the higher tier of running backs this week. So what are you thinking, Nick? Do you have anybody on either side of the ball here? And do you believe the Broncos' pass offense can finally get it going against this Raiders defense?
Yeah, so I read the ESPN matchup columns. It's like some film guys there, and they will upgrade or downgrade people for matchup purposes. And it seems that the Raiders against opposing pass offenses are not all that great. 27th against opposing tight ends. So Greg Dulcich is someone I'm interested in. Russell Wilson is a matchup upgrade according to them. The Raiders rank 30th against opposing quarterbacks. I'm not getting as much Cortland Sutton, so I think my main stack in this game will be Russ Wilson to Greg Dulcich, who will also be popular. But I'm a little lower on the field than lower on Cortland Sutton than the field. But he is up there in the top 7 wide receivers for me. Otherwise, in this game, not a whole lot of interest in the running game. But on the other side of the ball, you mentioned Josh Jacobs. Definitely could get going. He's still getting that like mega volume. It's just he's regressed a little bit in terms of long runs and touchdowns. But like you said, he has already had a very good day against this Broncos defense. The Broncos rank, let's see here, 11th against the run. So again, that might have been just Josh Jacobs just creating some opportunities for himself because he is a talented running back, contrary to popular belief. Melvin Gordon does have a nice matchup. Raiders ranked 28th against opposing running back. So an interesting game here. Like you said, the totals are starting to creep up, and this game could shoot out. I do like letting Russ cook a little bit here. I think that he is the kind of quarterback is when he does kind of put it all together. We haven't seen him have a 3-touchdown game yet, but this very well could be the matchup as the Raiders are just absolutely imploding. Any other interesting spots here that you want to take advantage of? I wouldn't be afraid to take a look at Kendall Hinton, especially because Jerry Judy's looking like he's going to miss, and Hinton seems to be the next guy up in that offense.
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be a good way to get different too if you're going to play this game at all. That's always a good strategy. Probably going to fade Devontae Adams this week. The Broncos have been very good against the pass. I think they rank first in the league in touchdowns allowed to receivers. They've only allowed 3 receiving touchdowns to wide receivers this year. So I think you can safely fade him at 8,700. But again, always remember if that's the popular play, it means it's contrarian play to this Devontae Adams. So just something to think of, but I won't be going there.
Yeah, you can definitely like pay up to be contrarian. The main reason why he doesn't project super well this week is because Patrick Surtain. We should look up to see how he did against Surtain when they played back in whatever week it was. Let me take a look at that right now. I have that here. Boom, boom. Let's see, wide receiver. All right, so let's look at his game log against Denver. He had looks like 9 receptions on 13 targets. So
pretty good.
Definitely not an issue. I think maybe I might be a little bit more into Devontae Adams than not, just because like you mentioned, seems like people are going to fade him this week, and similar to Justin Jefferson, like he can put up 30 whenever. And if that team's going to turn it around, it seems like Devontae Adams needs to be a big part of it. He definitely chirped Josh McDaniel either last week or a couple weeks ago about just completely going away from him in the second half. So we'll see. And I'm excited about that game a little bit. I think both teams can get right, put some points on the board. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. What do you got for us?
All right, we're starting to get some more juicy totals here. So we are now at the Detroit Lions and the New York Giants. Over-under is right around 44.5 points right now, and the Lions are 3-point underdogs against The Giants, obviously, we know the Lions have been a great team to target this year in fantasy in terms of targeting a bad defense. That is, so Saquon Barkley is going to be very popular this week. Popular this week, and rightfully so. Um, he is 8,900 though. You are going to have to pay up for him. He's looking to go around 14% owned this week, but he is projecting very well. He is in a great spot against this defense that has allowed 10 touchdowns on the ground to running backs this week, which ranks 30th in the league. He's averaging 26 touches per game. He should get a lot of work, and he should be able to put up some big numbers this game. So Saquon Barkley makes a lot of sense this week. And even if you wanted to maybe get to Daniel Jones, this could be a big Daniel Jones game at only 5,700. If he gets 20, 25 points, that's plenty to get you in in the top lineups for large field tournaments. So I think Daniel Jones could be a popular lower owned quarterback this week, going up against that Lions defense.
Yeah, I think if you're going to play Barkley, like he's the obvious play for me at running back. I really like that a lot. He's actually not going to be like mega chalk. That seems to be like Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Pierce, David Montgomery, Joe Mixon, who I all think are probably better plays from a price per projected point standpoint. But Barkley has the highest ceiling. He also will need to score more points than any other of these running backs in order to meet his salary-based expectation for the winning lineup. So his required upside score would be over 40 points. And Barkley certainly is getting the usage that you would need to hit that score. But again, a 40 ball is tough for any running back. In terms of other plays in this game that I really do like at the receiver position, Darius Slayton, who has seemed to come on a little bit. And just to talk a little bit about like the type of player that he is, he's kind of like a big play wide receiver, super fast. Like he might run the wrong route or have a drop here and there. He can be pretty frustrating. But if he goes off and you want to stack him with Daniel Jones or with Jared Goff on the other side and like Darius Slayton and Amon-Ra St. Brown, like I like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Darius Slayton in the same lineup because if Darius Slayton hits, it's going to speed up the game. It's going to speed up the pace. If Darius Slayton is going off, it means that the Giants have probably scored pretty quickly because he's, like I said, he's a big play receiver. So I do like that a lot. The field isn't going to be on him, but the projection models seem to really like Slayton. And honestly, like he might be one of my favorite plays on the week, Darius Slayton. So there you go. I also really like Amon-Ra, but he's going to be pretty popular as well. But at 7,200 in this game, even though the Giants are pretty solid against opposing wide receivers, they're ranked 6th overall. Amon-Ra is just a baller, and he's going to get touches out of the backfield and a lot of good usage. And that target share is 32% target share for the Lions, especially with TJ Hawkinson out of town. So anybody I missed there? You just talked about Barkley. We don't love to play Jared Goff. Daniel Jones is a fun play. Vanilla Vic, as they call him down there. That's what Barkley calls him. But any other plays you like in this game?
No, I mean, pretty much on the line side, the only way you can go is Amon-Ra St. Brown. You just never know with DeAndre Swift. I don't think this is his season. I don't think he's going to have any big ceiling games. So that kind of makes it easy if you do want to play someone in the Lions. So I do kind of like that Amon-Ra St. Brown. Darius Slayton is either a mini stack or a run back if you wanted to play Goff or Daniel Jones. So good call there. All right, let's move on. Let's see, what's the next game we got? We got the Indianapolis Colts versus your Philadelphia Eagles, the no longer undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Wait, no, you're Steelers, right? That's Andy.
I'm a Steelers fan. Yeah, they're not my Eagles. Actually, they're kind. I mean, I live in Philly, so they're my Eagles.
A little bit
I'll
of
be
your
out in the
Eagles.
streets if they win the Super Bowl. I'll be
Fair
out in the
enough.
streets if they win. Yeah.
All right, over under 45.5 points. And right now the Colts are obviously 6-point underdogs to the Eagles. There's a lot of ways you can go in this game. I think kind of the elephant in the room we have to talk about is Jonathan Taylor, who finally broke out and had a big game last week. He had his first big game really since week 1. He's 7,800, still pretty cheap for Jonathan Taylor. We saw that the Commanders were able to run the ball effectively against the Eagles this past Monday night, and they were able to beat them doing that. Jeff Saturday, potential Hall of Famer, center for the Colts, has taken over coaching and has maybe used some of his expertise to improve that offensive line. We've only seen a one-game sample, but it was a pretty good sample there for Jonathan Taylor. So I do kind of like him this week. I think recency bias might make him a little more popular than he should be. This is still probably a pretty bad Colts team, but maybe they get a new spark with Jeff Saturday. So he's probably my favorite play on the Colts side this week. And it disgusts me to say this, but Paris Campbell is also looking pretty good too at 4,300. He's been a lot more involved in this offense than he was at the beginning of the year. And again, maybe this passing offense gets a little bit more of a spark with Matt Ryan back under center. And then, of course, on the other side of the ball, I mean, it's a free for all in that offense. You can pick anybody you want to go against this Colts defense in a game where the Steelers are favored. I think AJ Brown makes a lot of sense. I think he left a sour taste in people's mouth this past week since I think he only had 2 catches. But I don't think that kind of lack of production is sustainable for a guy like AJ Brown. So who do you like from this game?
Again, Jonathan Taylor, I'm going to just echo what you said. I think that the injury to Jordan Davis, the rookie, just massive, huge, athletic defensive tackle, was really, really important part of their run defense. They signed Ndamukong Suh to kind of fill that void, but he's a veteran. I mean, there's a reason why he was a free agent, kind of getting up there in age. So, like you said, Jeff Saturday is going to want to pound the rock. And Jonathan Taylor's price down at 7,800. When I mean, I just think that that's just a little bit of a lag in the pricing algorithm. And I thought that he was going to be popular, but we get a little bit of relief in terms of if the field's going to play him, just because salary is kind of tight. But I love the Jonathan Taylor play. I also love the Paris Campbell play. It just seems that the projections are a little bit higher on this Colts team than maybe the market is in terms of the over under and the spread, because 6-point underdogs. It's good for Paris Campbell. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be involved even if they are trailing. I don't really have anybody on the Eagles side that I like, purely because they're on the road, so they're not maybe projecting as well. AJ Brown isn't really coming up in the optimal as much, but he's also not going to be super popular this week. Devontae Smith, is probably who I would want to play, purely for the salary relief. I think that he'll probably get jammed in there a little bit, especially if I'm going to be playing a lot of Paris Campbell and Jonathan Taylor, and I want to correlate that. But yeah, it's just not really a game I'm super interested in on the Eagles side of the ball. I don't think they're going to struggle, but they could control this game, similar to kind of like Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts might not have to do a whole lot in this game to win. But we'll see. The Colts are kind of fun. They have some momentum. Jeff Saturday seems to have the boys buzzing down there, or up there, over there, wherever it is, Indianapolis. So, yeah, maybe the Birds lose 2 in a row, and I'm sure Philly will handle that really well, for sure.
Cool. All right. You want to move on?
Yeah, let's hit it.
All right, let's get to one of my favorite games of the week. It should be for a lot of people. We got the Dallas Cowboys against the Minnesota Vikings, over under right around 48.5 right now. Spread line's pretty much a pick 'em. Cowboys are 1.5 point favorites right now. Vikings coming off an emotional win against the Bills last week. The Cowboys coming off an emotional loss to the Packers last week. So you got 2 teams that are going to be gunning for each other this week in what should be a high scoring game. CD Lamb had kind of his coming out party for the season last year, one of his biggest games of the season. He's someone I like a lot this week. Kind of the question is going to be: are the Vikings going to be able to get it going against this Cowboys defense to push the over on this 48.5 point total? I think that they will be able to. I think that if they were able to do it against the Bills, I think they can do it against the Cowboys. I do think the Cowboys are a better defense, but still, really impressive what we saw from the Vikings and Justin Jefferson last week. So I'm probably going to have a lot of pieces in this game. I'm going to have some CD Lamb. I'm probably going to have some Dalton Schultz. I think I'm going to have a lot of Dak Prescott stacks. And then I think I'm probably going to be running it back with someone on the Viking side. Might be tough to get up to Justin Jefferson this week, especially if you want to play CD Lamb on the other side at 7,500. And I do believe he did get shut down by Trayvon Diggs last year. I think he only had like 2 catches. So that'll be a matchup to watch out for. But I think this could be a big game for TJ Hawkinson at 5,300. He's one of my favorite tight end plays this week in this game. Who are you targeting from this game? I think you're on mute, Nick.
Yeah, of course. I'm not getting a ton of TJ Hawkinson, but when you said that, I do like him in his new role with the Vikings. He seems to he's getting like a lot of targets, so I don't think the projections have caught up with that yet. I'm kind of with you there. CeeDee Lamb is a really great play just from a price perspective, especially with the volume role that he's getting. It seems like that Cowboys offense is starting to click a little bit. Dak looks like he's getting healthy. Michael Gallup has been disappointing, and the projections are kind of showing that. So not a ton of him. I'm not as into this game as the field, I think, this week. I think I'll have CeeDee Lamb. Justin Jefferson just makes it really, really difficult to make everything else work this week. So, like I said, I think a lot of people are going to kind of force stacks in this game just because it has such a high total. And I don't know if that's the best way to kind of approach this week. But CeeDee Lamb does have a really good matchup. The Vikings rank 31st against opposing wide receivers. He's got a 32% target share. Air yard share is over 43%, which is really, really good. And the Vikings rank kind of back end of the league in terms of air yards allowed. So we should see plenty of pass volume in this matchup. And like I said, I think CeeDee Lamb is the main target for me in this game. A little bit of Tony Pollard, but Zeke should be back. So we should temper expectations a little bit for Tony Pollard in terms of bell cow usage. But other than that, not really interested in much in this game. Dalton Schultz from a price perspective is fine. But again, I'm a little bit underweight on the field just because he's one of those popular plays that people are going to gravitate towards just because this game is such a good stack opportunity. So enough about that. I think people are looking forward to making plays in that game. Let's move on and maybe give some people some clarity on this Browns and Buffalo game with the over and under right around 49, right?
Yeah, I got 49.5 right now for that game. A lot of uncertainty heading into this game. Buffalo got buried under, I think, as much as I think I saw Orchard Park had 6 feet of snow reported. So I don't know if the team, I had heard they were kind of having trouble actually getting out of the city. The game's supposed to be played in Detroit. I mean, if this game is played indoors in Detroit, I want to be all over this game. I want all pieces of the Buffalo offense. I want to run it back with Amari Cooper. Stephon Diggs is projecting really well in my model. I have met the coming up the fourth most in the optimizer, optimal 22% of the time, and field only going at about 10.5%. Ownership right now, that could be because of some of the uncertainty we're seeing with the game. So I think, assuming this game does get played in Detroit, which I think that it will, I think they'll be able to make it work. I like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs stacks a lot. You're gonna have to pay up for it, but I think this is a week that they'll be able to return that value. Another guy who's coming up a lot for me is Amari Cooper, so it's good when you kind of see that in the optimizer because you're getting natural correlation there. So the models are picking up on that. That's something I want to run with, especially after Amari Cooper had kind of a down week last week. So I like him here in a bounce back spot. He's going pretty low owned this week too. I have him under 3%. So you could get a lot of leverage there too if this game shoots out, if the Browns can find a way to move the ball against this Buffalo defense. I think since it'll be kind of weird circumstances, it'll be kind of a road game for both teams. I think there's a good chance Buffalo isn't at 100%. So what are you thinking for this game, Nick, if they play in Detroit?
I'm kind of in lockstep with you. For me, like the projections seem pretty comfortable with it. Getting plenty of Stephon Diggs, both Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Remember, Donovan Peoples-Jones is the Cleveland wide receiver you want when they are on the road. Amari Cooper who you want when they're at home. The splits of them home and away have been pretty shocking. This is technically a home game for the Browns. It's technically a home game for the Bills. So again, it's in Detroit, technically an away game. If there is anything to that home road split for Amari Cooper, Josh Allen is my most popular quarterback play for me. He's going to be owned a lot, but it doesn't. Yeah, I think this game's going to end up being popular. It's just a matter of is this going to be as popular as the Vikings and Cowboys game, which is a little harder to stack with Justin Jefferson. Whereas this game, again, is a little more price, a little less pricey, so you can get away with stacking it up. I like Josh Allen to Dawson Knox at tight end. Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis isn't showing up as much, but I'm sure you can put him in your stack combinations as well. And then, like I said, I really like running it back with DPJ and Amari Cooper. One name to keep an eye on, David Njoku will be back this week, so look for him to step back into a pretty big role there. They're paying him a lot of money. He's kind of breaking out a little bit before he got hurt there, so Njoku could be a sneaky play this week if people forgot about him. I have not forgot about him. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Keep it moving. We're coming up on an hour here, so I want to respect the people's time.
Sure.
We move into the Falcons game.
Yeah, I think this is the last one. So we got Bears, Falcons. Very interesting game. Vegas thinks it's going to be high scoring. They got it around 49 points as well. And right now the Falcons are 3-point favorites. And I really don't know what to make of this game. I think this is a really difficult game. If you were to bet on the over-under, I'm not sure which way I would lean. I could definitely see this game being very run-heavy. But both defenses have been atrocious. But we've seen this year that the Falcons really like to run the ball. And the Bears offense has really turned it up the last couple of weeks with Justin Fields and some of the designed run plays they've had for him. He's absolutely lit it up. His price has started to come up. He's up to 7,600 now. 2 weeks ago, I think he was only at like 5,500. So a dramatic increase there. Personally, I don't think this is going to be a game where Justin Fields is going to be forced to make some of the plays he's had to make in the last 2 weeks to catch up with some of the teams he was playing. They lost their last 2 games despite the offense they were able to put up. I think this game's going to be a lot more competitive, so I do like David Montgomery a lot more this week. And I think he is going to be very popular as well, right around 8% owned. But this Falcons defense has struggled against the run a little bit this year. And it sounds like Khalil Herbert will not be playing. So I think we know that David Montgomery is going to get most of the carries. I think he'll get some carries in the end zone and should be able to punch some in. And then on the Falcons side of the ball, it's been a pretty split committee for the running backs there the last few weeks. Tyler Algier, Cordero Patterson, even Caleb Huntley, they've all been getting a lot of carries and they've all been pretty productive. Marcus Mariota even gets his share of the runs. He's not going to be throwing the ball a lot. I just don't think I can trust anyone in the passing game. We'd love to go to Kyle Pitts one day, but I don't think it's going to happen with Mariota at quarterback. So I'm willing to go to the Justin Fields well again, just because he's been so electric. But I think David Montgomery is probably the safer play this week, and he's only 6,100, so you get a salary saver there at running back.
Yeah, I'm going back to the well, man. I just can't quit these Falcons receivers. Just the usage is there. It's similar to Joe Mixon. Like it could hit, even if it's because Marcus Mariota is bad and he can't, he might be good for just enough. Just to realize some of this air yard share for Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's got a 27% target share. Air yard share is 30%. The Bears aren't allowing a ton of air yards. It's probably because teams can run all over them. So you were kind of into Cordero Patterson, not me as much. But I am into Marcus Mariota and Justin Fields as quarterbacks in this game. Both are coming right around 10%, so you're not really going to sneak them by anybody. But I don't think that Justin Fields will be mega chalk because his price has come up a little bit as he has been balling out. 2 40-point games in a row. I think people are like, all right, we can fade him a little bit this week as the price comes up. Marcus Mariota is a little sneakier. People just don't like playing him because he's bad, but he gets plenty of rushing. He's projected really well this week in a high-scoring game at home as the quarterback. And they are only about 3-point underdogs at home. They're 3-point favorites at home. So, I like the matchup for both sides of the ball here. It's just a matter of who you want to play. I think I'm okay fading David Montgomery, especially because there's a lot of other running back plays I like this week, although he is one of the optimizer's favorite options, especially with Khalil Herbert out with an injury this week. Not into any of the Atlanta running backs that you mentioned, except for Cordero Patterson, a little bit more than the field. he kind of sneaks in there every once in a while. Again, usually Drake London's kind of a popular play for me, but like you said, I think the way you attack this team is on the ground, and I think we're going to see a lot of Marcus Mariota rushing this week. So, and because of that, I'll probably lock him in and stack him with one of his receivers, and I will be crying again because because I'm not getting the production from Drake London or Kyle Pitts that we'd like to see. So. That wraps it up for the game by game. What do you think, Rob? Any other notes on the Atlanta Bears game before we move on here?
No, I mean, I think we covered it. Again, I'm kind of leaning more towards the Bears side this week. I think it's just too hard to really pinpoint who's going to go off on the Falcons side. So yeah, I'm willing to go back to that Justin Fields well again. I think he's kind of heading into elite quarterback pricing territory. So get him while he's cheap.
Yeah, and I'll just mention on the Raiders, sometimes this happens with these really cheap wide receivers at $3K. Keelan Cole is projecting for more of a role than you would typically see a receiver at that price. So again, $3K, like he only needs to score 18 points to like end up in the millionaire winning lineup. So he could provide a lot of salary. So like he might be the one you need to put in your lineup to make Justin Jefferson work, or Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen stack work. So I kind of like these receivers when they're min priced. No one's going to play them, and they are projecting for more than you would typically see a receiver of their caliber project for. So just something to keep in mind in a game that we don't love, the Broncos Raiders. That's one play I want to point out to people. But let's go ahead and build a quick lineup here. So I'll share my screen. I'll give you the honors, and you can pick any kind of area. Maybe give us a stack. It could be a quarterback, wide receiver stack, quarterback, running back, quarterback, tight end, even maybe 2 wide receivers you want to stack together. Anybody you like here?
All right, so I like a Stephon Diggs, Donovan Peoples-Jones mini stack.
Okay, let's put it in. Let me share my screen here for the people. Okay, let's see. All right, so you said Stephon Diggs. Let's do it. And then who else here? What's the reasoning? Why do you have so much conviction on Diggs this week?
Mostly because he's been coming up in the optimizer quite a bit. Let me see. What did I have him at? I had him optimal 22% of the time, which was 4th highest. And when you see a guy at that high of a salary being in the optimal lineups that much, that means, his projections are so high that it doesn't matter how high his salary is. A lot of times you see guys like Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams further down on that list because they're so expensive. Stephon Diggs seems to be in a sweet spot. 8,300 isn't so high that he has to go bonkers to get there. I have his upside score at 38. That is pretty high, but not as high as some of the 40, 41, 42 point totals or upside scores you were seeing for guys like Saquon Barkley or Justin Jefferson or Devontae Adams. Especially if they're playing indoors in Detroit, it's just going to be an awesome scoring environment for Josh Allen. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants. Of course, the only concern would be is you're not in a situation where the Bills need to be pushed, but that hasn't mattered this year. They put up points regardless of who the opponent is and whether or not they're blowing them out. So I like Stephon Diggs a lot, and this backfired on me a couple weeks ago in the Miami game. But if the Browns are going to be forced to throw, it's a better scoring environment for guys like Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Peoples-Jones didn't have a bad game against Miami that one. He almost got 100 yards, but I think we could see a similar situation in this Buffalo-Cleveland game.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm trying to think here. I'm going to go with the quarterback wide receiver stack. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow for some salary and a little bit of contrarianism in our lives here, because I do think that the Diggs Peoples-Jones combination will be popular this week, and for good reason, especially as people kind of get a little bit more certainty with are they actually going to play the game. I'd like to stack Joe Burrow with my guy T. Higgins here. I just have no respect for the Steelers secondary. And I do not think that this is a game where you necessarily need to bring it back with anybody, especially because Kenny Pickett still figuring it out. I in that same ESPN matchups column that I do think is very sharp, Pat Freiermuth is a downgrade. It just seems like the the Cincinnati Bengals are solid against opposing tight ends. So I'm not going to take up too much space here with this lineup. So, or with this turn, but I'm going to go Joe Burrow to T Higgins. What do you think about that? And go ahead and take us away with the next piece if you're ready.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that a lot. I like Joe Burrow a lot this week. Huge Joe Burrow guy. All right. So I think that's probably one we don't necessarily need a run back on. What's our average salary remaining? So we still got 4,600. Let's see. Let's go with a running back. Let's see if we can squeeze Jonathan Taylor in there at 7,800.
Okay, if you weren't going to take him, I was taking him. All right.
Okay.
All right, I like that. So, like we said, Philadelphia again showing a little bit of some cracks in the armor there, especially in the run game. That's how Washington beat them. Just kind of ran all over them. They have had some. They have a key injury in Jordan Davis going down. So Jonathan Taylor makes a lot of sense this week. Hopefully, he doesn't get too popular because again, one of my favorite plays this week. So that makes it my turn. Let's see here. We're going to need some salary savings. So I think defense. This is where I'm at with defense. Let's just get as cheap as possible. Let's correlate our running back with our defense. Might as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Colts D, just so because it's going to allow us to do a little bit, and it might as well be correlated with their running back if that game plays out at home for the Colts, and they're able to control the game and keep the ball away from Philadelphia. So that's what projections kind of show anyway. So let's see what happens.
I like it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to I'll give you, I mean, no one wants to draft tight end, but if you want to take the running back slot, you're more than welcome.
All right. Well, I think it makes sense. Let's go Antonio Gibson for a second running back at 5,600. Somewhat of a salary saver. I think we'll be able to squeeze him in, and then we can get a cheap tight end, and maybe 2 cheap tight ends, or a cheap tight end and a cheap wide receiver.
Okay. I do think that it's perfectly fine to go with two tight ends this week. Let's see. We like Schultz. Ooh, what happens if we do this? Let's correlate our tight ends. I don't think it's going to let us do that. Okay, so we're 2,000 in the hole, but I do want to point this out. If you want to do this, I love this little mini stack of Schultz and Hawkinson. Just because like it's a double tight end lineup, but it's 2 tight ends that are going to get plenty of volume, and at their price tags are probably going to get the same amount of volume and usage as you would see a wide receiver in that range. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those options that we have. We're not going to be able to play Hawkinson. But if we play Schultz, let's see what we're left with at the flex. So we got about 3,300. That is ugly. All right, let me back out of that. We're going to have to go much cheaper at tight end. What do we think? Any cheap tight end options that you have in mind that could save us here?
Who did I mention earlier?
I know Conklin was one. How cheap is he? Harrison Bryant. We don't want to play him. Okay, there's Hayden Hurst at 3,500. That gives us a Joe Burrow double stack, and I do like double stacking the pocket passers. So I do like that. A double stack with no bring back is kind of interesting. So maybe we could make this a full-on onslaught. Let's see what kind of wide receiver we can play. And is my boy gonna be cheap enough?
Could we get Freiermuth? We're just short of Freiermuth. Freiermuth's at 4,200.
Yeah, let's see. What is Pickens at? Okay, Pickens is at 5,200. That's way too expensive.
What about Paris Campbell? So another guy we talked about. He's 4,300. Ben Skoranek, 3,900. He was someone I talked about.
I'm not in love with that, if I'm being honest with you.
Fair enough.
Let's see here. I like the rest of this lineup a lot. Who can we can fit someone reasonable in here. Nico Collins. That's interesting, right?
Yeah, I actually have him. He was my 16th most optimal.
Okay. All right. We're going to play Nico Collins because he fits. I think that if I were maybe to tweak this a little bit, I might come down a little bit on Antonio Gibson because he usually just not be the guy. It could be Brian Robinson. Let's see let's see what that looks like. If Brian Robinson's cheaper, which he's Not much cheaper, but he might be cheap enough to get us someone we like a little bit better. Oh, we could play Pitts. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Paris Campbell's interesting. How chalky are we though? Is the problem. With the Joe Burrow double stack, I think we're going to be pretty unique there. We could probably afford some chalk there.
Yeah.
Going all out against Philly, what could go wrong? But I'm going to save that lineup. I like that lineup a lot. I will enter that in something this week. I won't change it like I did last time. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the full send portion of the show. Unless anybody is watching an hour and 5 minutes in, which they're not, but you and I are getting our reps in, we're getting our research in, and I'm excited for this slate. So, full send, Rob. Who do you want the honors? You get one. Let's start with a full send stack that you like. You like that Diggs DPJ stack, right?
I did like that one. Yeah. I think I also, if I'm going quarterback receiver stack, I think my favorite one of the week, and it feels dangerous, but I really like Dak Prescott to CeeDee Lamb this week.
Okay. Dak Prescott to CeeDee Lamb. All right.
Somewhat affordable.
Yeah.
Scoring environment, indoors.
Okay. So I personally really like this Joe Burrow double stack. So I'm going to go ahead and flag plant the Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst double stack. And I'm going to bring it back with Deontay Johnson or George Pickens. So I know that's kind of a cop out a little bit, and that's a lot of players to flag plant, but I do think that and again, I'm a homer, but I do think that the secondaries in this game are both really, really, really bad. And the running game on the Bengals side is good, and Joe Mixon's solid, but I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity here in the passing game and with the pass volume. And I'm going to take a stance here and say that you don't want to bring it back with Pat Freiermuth just because the matchup's pretty bad. So that's my kind of stack. And that knocks out a lot of decisions that you need to make in your lineup. And on a week where that stack probably won't be super popular, you can kind of let the optimizer do the rest of the work for you there. So I really like that. Any other flag plants that you have for us? Maybe give the people one more one-off flag plant, full send.
So let's see.
I think let's collectively full send Jonathan Taylor.
I was just gonna say Jonathan Taylor. Like I wanted to say like the not obvious one, but he's only going at 11% owned, and he's $7,800. Like we might not see this again. So yeah, I'm very comfortable with that. We were in the same boat there. Jonathan Taylor.
I want to make it very clear to people that we are on Jonathan Taylor this week because it just feels like a very good week for that to be the case. We'll do an anti-full send. Dameon Pierce, fade him in tournaments. Fine for cash, but even then, I'd like to maybe go elsewhere. It just seems like a bad chalk play. We haven't seen a lot of like really bad chalk plays this year. I think people have been pretty good about that. But Dameon Pierce, in my opinion, is an anti-full send. And then I'll give people one more here, a little off the rails a little bit. Let's see. Dang, that Joe Burrow play is going to be awesome. I'm telling you. I'm going to go with Darius Slayton. That's the one I was looking for. Darius Slayton is going to be a full send. You heard it here first. Darius Slayton against the Lions. He should be their number one target. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's hurt. He's last man standing, and we trust Dayball. We love targeting the Lions defense, and Slayton's at home. So Danny Dimes to Darius Slayton. There's another little stack for you to win all the money. So we're over an hour, Rob. This has been great. I do think that we're packing more and more information into these, so they're getting a little bit more long form. But make sure you're checking out Instagram for the finalized player pool. Make sure you're checking Twitter for optimal lineups that we're posting. Rob and I, we've been working hard. We're making progress. It's not always pretty, but all it takes is 1 week, right, Rob?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on it. I mean, you had yours last week, so that means I'm due, right? I'm due this week. Yeah. This is my week.
But we're staying in the fight. We're staying in the fight. And like I said, as long as we stay in the fight, we keep the process sound, we reduce the noise, and we make sure we're making good plays, we'll get there. So good luck this week, everybody. Make sure you check out Gridiron AI at all of our socials, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And take care of yourselves, everybody. Good luck out there. See ya.
Have a good one.